My mother and father were huge influences, and I'm grateful that they're still around. My parents live in Dallas, Pennsylvania. They raised me and my 5 siblings in New Jersey, and they influenced all of us by planting a seed of servant leadership in all of us when we were very young. My faculty advisor when I was an undergraduate student at Marywood University was Kathleen Munley, the sister-in-law of Robert Munley. And Kathleen, first of all, saw something in me when I was a freshman at Marywood that caused me to switch my major from communications to pre-law. And then she encouraged me throughout my undergraduate education to continue in that direction. Not only did she encourage me, but she was responsible for helping me finish my undergraduate degree in 3 years so that I could go on to law school. And then as I was studying for the bar in New Jersey, after I completed law school, I got a telephone call from Kathleen Munley, who remembered that I would be graduating and wanted to bring me back to this area to interview with a family law firm that was looking to fill an associate position at the time. She recommended me. I came from New Jersey back to Scranton to interview. I accepted the position, and I worked very productively, very happily at that firm for the first 12 years of my career. So I would say that my biggest professional influence was probably Kathleen Munley. I have a large family. I come from a family of 6 children. I have 4 children of my own. We just had our 7th grandchild this past Saturday. After raising 4 boys, 6 of my 7 grandchildren are girls, and that's awfully exciting to me. Anytime a tuition bill came due for undergraduate school or law school, my father would put us to work. And so I worked in the construction industry with my father. And as we did that, because we were novices at the time, we were sort of like apprentices for my carpenter dad, we were prone to make mistakes because we were new at it. And I always remember my father telling me whenever we would make a mistake that there isn't any mistake that you can't fix. I'll go back to what I said about Kathleen Munley earlier. She was such an influence on me. And in addition to being my faculty advisor at Marywood, she was a history professor. And she only taught evening classes. Maybe at the time she was raising a family of her own, and that worked for her family schedule. But she only taught evening classes. And she was such an amazing orator. She could stand in front of a night class for 2.5 hours without a shred of paper in front of her and deliver a history lesson without a single or a single superlative or a single sleepy eye in the classroom. I mean, she was just amazing. And although I elected to go to law school rather than pursue, her career, which was academia, I always admired the fact that the skills that she taught me while she was a history professor could so easily translate to the profession that I'm in today. I would want to be remembered, I think, as a servant leader, because just as important as my career is to me and as important as my family is to me, I think that seed that my parents planted of servant leadership when we were young is something that I've carried throughout my life. Well, this isn't a story that I often share. There are 2 of them probably. One is that I am 100% deaf. You would not know that, right? So when I was in my 40s, I suddenly lost my hearing. And if you spent enough time with me, you would look closely and you'd notice that I wear a very powerful hearing aid on one side, and I wear a cochlear implant on the other side. And it took an awful lot of effort and advocacy in working with my otorhinolaryngologist from University of Pennsylvania to convince the insurance companies that I should be a recipient of a cochlear implant. But that surgery was life-changing. Servant leadership is really an important part of my life. Lackawanna Pro Bono appeals to me because it allows us to work with clients who wouldn't have the means to be represented at all in the court system. I'll give you an example of one client in particular who I've had for about 4 years now. It seems that every year or so, she has a debt collector knocking on her door or calling her or writing to her or in some cases suing her. And so about once a year, I hear from Joanne. But in most cases, what we've been able to do is tell her story to the people who are coming after her for payment and explain her unfortunate circumstances. They might be health circumstances at the time. They may be an inability to drive or, maintain or pay for a vehicle to get her to her part-time job. But as long as we can tell the story in a way that is compelling to these debt collectors, sometimes you can just get them off of her tail. And we've been able to get some of those collectors just to drop the magistrate's complaints. And that's really rewarding, because in a situation like this where someone lives alone, they don't have a network, they don't have family support, and they have difficulty just meeting the necessities of life, right? Our work for them it just makes such a huge difference in their lives.